Alan, it's so great to see you. It's been so long, and I'm so excited to be spending time with you today on the very first day of our podcast. And I'm so excited to give the information from both of our perspectives out to people who are dealing with hair loss, and also just sharing your story. If you can help one person at a time, if I can help one person at a time, I just think it's awesome.
Yeah, it's great to see you again. It has been a long time, and it's really nice to see you. And we go way back.
I just realized I'm 18 years into this, even though it's a family business, 18 years, and I'm still just as excited as I was from day one. The innovations that happen, the things, the possibilities, we're constantly learning, we're constantly having new technology. I just think it's amazing. And that's one of the great things about why we're doing this podcast in the first place, is to be able to share this information with people out there so they can become more informed as well. So let's actually take a step back for a moment, because I haven't actually shared with anybody who's watching this that you actually are wearing hair yourself. And the reason why I love this is that people only know the bad stuff on the street. People don't know how good hair restoration is today. Yeah. And I love the fact that you, being our brand ambassador, gets to break that stigma around wearing hair. And so I wanted to just, before we dive into this, talk about your journey in hair loss and what this has been like for you.
Yeah. Well, I was one of those guys in high school that not one hair was out of place, and people used to make fun of me about that. But it was true. I graduated in 1990, so Vanilla Ice, I had the same hair. And people made fun of me about that. The hairspray and just all of that. So it was ironic, of all people, to start losing their hair at a young age. It was me. And I never really noticed it until I went to the military, into boot camp, and they shaved my head. And it took a lot longer for my hair to grow back. And that's when I started to notice something wasn't quite right, because towards the end of boot camp, everybody was getting their hair cut again. And they were really just kind of cleaning up my neck and just kind of cleaning it up. So my hair eventually grew back, but it took a very long time for it to come back, much longer than most anyone else's. When it came back several months later, it never really came back the same. So that's when I noticed that I was starting to lose my hair. And definitely that had a big impact on me, because I, for better or worse, a little too vain and probably took way too much, put too much effort into my hair. So the fact that I was losing it, my dad had a full thick head of hair still. Grandfather had a full thick head of hair. So I never would, in a million years, would have thought I would have lost my hair. So yeah, it was really affecting me. I was only 18 when I started seeing it. So by the time I was 19 and 20, it was getting pretty obvious. And I had enough to mush and mash and hairspray and product and get it to look better than it was. But as soon as it got wet, as soon as there was some wind, anything that then it was a lot more obvious. So it was depressing. I was going to be 21 years old, going to be starting to be able to go to clubs and adult type of things. And at that point, I was losing all my hair. So yeah, it affected me a lot, maybe more than the average person, but nevertheless, it did. And I didn't know what I was going to do. Right when I was 21 or so, we went to this really nice nightclub, my friends and I had a hat on, and they wouldn't let me in with a hat. They weren't letting people in this club with a hat on. So I wasn't about to go in there and take my hat off and just walk in there. There was just no way. So I went and sat in my friend's car, listened to the radio, and they stayed for about, I don't know how long they stayed in there, but they weren't leaving. So I was stuck. I just went and sat in their car and waited for them. That's when I figured, all right, I got to figure something out, because this isn't gonna work for me. So that was the defining moment for me. And the next day, back then there wasn't the internet. Got in the yellow pages, got in the phone book, and started looking at different types of hair restoration. Wasn't much back then, but that's when I initially started looking into the whole world of hair replacement. It was back then in 1994.
So tell me about what it was like going through a consultation back then.
Well, it was interesting. So my mom took me. I didn't have a license. I didn't have a car. So my mom gave me a ride to my first hair consultation. And it was at a big hair chain franchise. So it was really embarrassing. Beautiful women coming out. I'm losing my hair, and just it was really embarrassing. I didn't know what it was. They made sure not to tell me exactly what anything was. A lot of it was kind of a secret. I didn't know. Super expensive. Way more money than I had. So I wasn't able to do anything with it. Pretty high pressure, but I just didn't have the money, so we left. I don't really remember much of that consultation other than how kind of embarrassed I was being down there and how tough it was to go down there. Because you're admitting that, especially a young man, I was admitting that it was affecting my life in a really negative way. So I just thought that this was going to be something I was never going to be able to afford. I don't know, maybe a couple months later, my mom found another advertisement for a very small local newspaper in the little suburb Denver that we lived in. I saw this ad and called this number, and I liked the before and after picture, and so I set up a consultation for this place. It was close to where I lived. Took a bus there, went in for the consultation. The gentleman who owned it, his hair looked really natural, looked really good, and he was a lot more affordable. And it was a new business. He'd been a client of this big hair franchise place before and decided to open up his own place because of the experiences he had. So that was my chance to become a client. And he really worked with me and I was able to afford it. So, and that's how it all started. I gave a little bit of a deposit. He did that. And a month later, which would have been April of '94, is when I got hair for the first time. It was an easy transition for me. And I never had to see myself go totally bald, which was a big deal to me. Even though if I would have, eventually I still would have most likely done something. But the fact that I did it before I lost everything really made that transition a lot easier. That was the beginning of my hair journey, was that, just becoming a client. And then I was 21, started doing what 21-year-olds do, going out to clubs and bars. And we started going to lakes, and I wasn't afraid to swim in front of people anymore. And I wasn't afraid to get my hair wet anymore. So the fact that I did it so young, I didn't really lose out on a lot. I think if I would have waited throughout my 20s, that would have been a horrible time for me. So I was able to do it when I was young, and I was able to really kind of averted what I thought was a disaster for me back then. Was losing my hair it was a total disaster. So
I think that's one of the important things is that making people understand that they don't want to wait too long. If they know that they're going to lose their hair, if you know you're going to lose your hair, just deal with it and start into the transition now so that they don't have to go through, are people going to notice? And with the technology that's available today, I think that isn't as much of a concern. It's more of an internal feeling about, are people going to notice, and the stress that can come along with that. But in the world today and the way that hair systems are, I mean, look at your hair. Your hair is absolutely fantastic. That I think guys, the difference is how soon it is before they actually decide to do the transition. And I think it is better that if they know that this is the route they're going to go, is just get to it.
Well, exactly. And most people, including me, you'll hear a lot of people that'll get this done, or a lot of men that'll get this done. I'm like, gosh, I should have done this a long time ago. If I would have known this, if I'd have known this 2 years ago, I would have done it. So it's much tougher to get yourself to do it than it is to actually get it done. Getting it done is easy, especially today's technology. It's like you're in and out in an hour almost. It's like going to get a haircut. I mean, it's that simple. And everything is so comfortable and everything is so lifelike that now, as compared to back then, it's night and day difference. So back then there were some limitations technology wise. So you had to really know what you were doing. You had to really spend some time. You had to focus on it at first, and you had to really want to do hair systems or hair replacement for it to work right for you. It wasn't like now to where you can get this process done, and it's just like your own growing hair for the most part. I mean, it's incredible, the difference. It's crazy thinking about back then and how long ago it was. I've had a hair system well over half my life. It's kind of weird to think about that, really.
Okay, so a little bit about Alan. You have actually ran your own clinic, and then you've since retired, and you've come out, and now you are DuBrule's brand ambassador.
I love helping people, and I love answering questions. And I started in this just 18-year-old kid that didn't have a clue what to do or where to go or who to talk to about it. So I have a lot of knowledge and experience, and as also the client and a person that's tried every hair system that's ever been made for the most part for the last 30 years, technology wise. And I've kept up with it personally with my own hair systems. And so I think I have a little bit of a unique angle on some of the hair systems just because I did them for myself personally. And then on top of that, I sold them to my clients over the last almost 3 decades. So I do miss the helping people. I miss the answering questions people might have, solving problems anybody might have. You know, some clients might be scared to take that step, and maybe I can get them to take that step. And 9 times out of 10, they're so glad they did that. We've had clients that were burn victims, especially a couple burn victims that we had to do a full hair prosthesis for, and it looked amazing. And just 10 years before that, it would have never been able to look right. But we have clients that met their wives after they got the hair. You know, my best friend, as a matter of fact, not quite as dramatic as the person you were talking about that came in, but when I think about stories of clients of mine, my best friend from junior high school, after I purchased the business in the 90s and became the owner of my business, my friend Rick, he was one of those guys like I was. He wore a hat all the time and never wanted to go out. And he was my age, about a year older, but always just kind of home. And we used to always make fun of him. You know, he's always at home in his basement with his hat on. You know, he never wanted to leave his house. And then when I got the business, it took him a while to get in. I finally talked him into doing it because, you know, I owned it. So he finally came in and did it. And he still had about a good amount of hair too. Exact same thing as me. So we got it done. I remember the night we did it. We went to dinner that night, and I want to say within 6 months, he was kind of got himself back, was starting to go out. We were living downtown Denver at the time, and he went out and met a lady that night, and they're married to this day. And I always kind of jokingly throw it in his face that if it wouldn't have been for me, you never would have met your wife. And it's true, not necessarily me. If it wouldn't have been for him getting hair, he wouldn't have had the confidence. There's a good chance that he probably wouldn't even gone out that night, you know. And that's just that's the way it is. That's the way it was for me. That's the way a lot of clients that have their careers turned around, for men and women. Their careers turned around once they got hair and got that confidence, because it wasn't necessarily about the hair. It's about them getting themselves back. And that's kind of what it was for me. You know, it wasn't that I wanted a new me. I wanted the old me back. And I was young enough to where I still knew what the old me was. It wasn't like 20 years ago. It was just a couple years before that. So one good thing about hair restoration is it changes people's lives. You'll get it back, or you can keep it from losing that confidence. If you catch it in time and do it before you start to lose too much, then you never have to really experience that process. It's amazing what it can do for a person if it affects that person a lot. Now, some people it doesn't affect. It's not as big of a deal to them, and not everybody's the same, and that's fine. More power to them. But some people it affects dramatically, and especially women. And so it's doing something now that is so much easier. And that's one of the main reasons I like to still continue to stay in this industry in little bits and pieces here and there. Is I like to see the changes in people, and I still like to hear the stories. I still like to be a part of the stories, and I doubt that'll change. I go to the swimming pool 3 or 4 days a week here, and I swim, and there's nobody out here would have any clue that this hair that I have on my scalp is not my own hair. Nobody knows. And I get out of the swimming pool, you can see right through to my scalp. And I go to the ocean. If I'm outside, if I'm riding my bike or I'm sweating, nobody has any idea that this isn't my hair, unless it's something I would decide to tell them. So I don't even think of it as it's not my hair. It is my hair. But it's been my hair for 30 years now. As of a couple of months ago, it's 30 years. So
it looks fantastic.
Thank you. But I've got a lot more gray now, you know, so a lot more gray. So as I get older and I get more gray in my own hair, I add gray to the hair systems themselves. And as I get older, the hair looks older. I age gracefully. You know, I don't want to look 20 years younger. I want to look a young 53. You know, that's all I care about. Is I want to look young for my age, and I want to look natural for my age. If I have a receding hairline, that's totally fine. I don't want to have a hairline down to here like when I was 21 years old. That's not natural. So you can progress this hair system as you progress in life, and it can all change and age as you age too. And those are things you're able to alter and do with hair systems now that never was possible back in the day.
So that brings up a good point about you can have a great system, but how important the technical skills are.
Mm-hmm.
And I find, you know, for me, bringing people in, hiring people, it is a very, very difficult thing. And a lot of people are thinking about buying systems online and bringing them over to a hairdresser, working in a regular hair salon and getting those cut in.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, because for me, when I hire, it's very difficult for me to find the person that I want.
It is.
But then when I do find the person that I like, it's not like, okay, here's your scissors, let's go. I literally am training them for like 2 months on the
Yeah.
floor how to cut hair systems in. And I don't understand how people are going into a hair salon, especially because it's not discreet. You walk into a hair salon, and how are they going to give you this elite experience
Yeah.
unless you're doing more of the old school hair systems, which we should
Yeah.
talk about the difference between them as well.
Yeah.
But really, the world has changed so much to this level of technology. We talked about this earlier. It's not easy to find.
No.
It's not easy to find. I don't even understand why it's so difficult to have the elite, the Ferrari of hair systems. Why is it not at the national chain level? And why is it not affordable? And why is it, at the end of the day, we have this amazing advancements out there. Why is this so hard to find? And if there's anything that I would say is, if anybody's ever thinking about buying a system from a clinic, is to get them to show, look at it, understand it, see it. Because when we show you the people about what the changes are, they need to be educated about what they're really stepping into. There's so much relevant, important education people need to be doing before they step into hair systems. Yes, times have changed. Yes, they're all better. But then there's this other level of elite. And that's what we're talking about. For me in my clinic, it's what I stand for. And it's all we do to try to provide to our clients.
There should be nothing to hide. You know, when you're talking about how somebody comes in for a consultation, you should, if they want to see a hair system or show them the differences, there should be nothing to hide. The vast majority of the public know exactly what these hair systems are now. 25 years ago, nobody wanted to talk about that. But now it's completely different because there is nothing to hide. Technology has made it to where it's acceptable. What we talked about a while back is you'd be in a crowd of a bunch of people, and there's probably several people that walked right by you with the hair system, men and women. You have no clue. You would never think twice. You'd never think about it. Even when I had my hair studio, we only sold the best of the best, because I personally was a client myself, and it was going to be impossible for me to sell something that I wouldn't do myself. A client doesn't necessarily have to have a very thin skin. There's different levels of skin systems. So you can have a client that has a skin system that's getting, say, 6 a year, that's going to be a little bit more durable, but they still look very natural. And to your point, as far as hiring a technician, and that's why it takes a while to get them trained to where you put them on the floor and you're comfortable with them being able to perform the process by themselves, because there is a science to this cut. It's not just going to a hair salon like getting a regular haircut. That's the quickest way to totally run a hair system, is to go to a hairstylist and have them cut it like a hairstyle. So, a lot of it is, obviously you're in several generations of your business from your family, and, you grew up in it. I mean, there's a science in exactly how to cut these systems the right way, and that makes it much more natural. So, for me, having a very thin system, if I had a little thicker system, I know enough what to do that I could still make it look almost as natural as this, and no one would still have any idea. So a lot of it is you educate your clients, and that's part of the trial that you give. It's a trial for them to try everything out, but it's also a trial. It's for both of you. It's for both of you, because you find out what works best for them. You come up with a formula, whether it's a type of an adhesive or maybe the type of thin skin or any of that stuff. So it's for them to try it out. They're going to have questions, but it's also a way for you to learn exactly what works best for them. So when that trial is up and it's time for them to become a full-time client, a lot of the knots, no pun intended, are kind of worked out by that point. And so when that trial is done and it's time for them to become a full-time client, they hit the ground running. It's just like their own hair. You never know until you do it. And when we did it at our place, when we did the trial, we did it with the good hair, because they have to try it and see what it's like at its best. And I think a lot of the clients are surprised, especially if they go to the big chains. They're surprised at the affordability of these thin systems, because they were completely out of reach at some other places. So we're going to do a trial. We want to do it on the hair that's going to be the best and most natural. And that doesn't mean that they're flimsy and they fall apart real easy, but it's human hair. And
Yeah.
just like clients own human hair, they need to take care of it. They need to condition the hair. They need to just simple, basic, common sense styling techniques that you would have if it's your own growing hair. So it's all part of educating the client into that. Most all of our men clients, we did on the thin systems. And there were a few different types of thin systems, and some were super, super thin. And some weren't quite as thin, but the hairlines all looked 100% better than the old school systems that we used to see. And frankly, a lot of the systems, the big chains and some other places use to this day. And they use those older systems because it's less maintenance for them. It's less work for the salon itself.
At the end of the day, here's the thing. The systems that's out there in the world today, if you have a really good technician, a stylist, you can make them look good. Right?
If the client knows what he's doing and the hairstylist knows what they're doing, you can get an old school system to look pretty darn natural. You really can.
Yeah.
You know?
So it's absolutely important that you have someone who's a really good technician in line with having a good system. Now let's talk about the difference between, I know we say old school, and we're not talking about our grandfather's hair systems. We don't see those too often. I do have a couple of people in my office that have them. At the end of the day, you know what? They're from the same generation of that, right? And listen, like, you would probably agree with it. I stand as much as I possibly can to making everybody look amazing with their hair. We have premium products. We have amazing technicians in the industry. Sometimes what those guys do with it out there on the streets, we don't have full control.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, one thing that drives me crazy is that the myth is that people only see the bad stuff.
Yeah.
They don't know the good stuff.
They don't know the good stuff.
They walk right past you. And still to this day, if I took this camera and I walked out this door right now and went to my clinic and who's in here right now, I still to this day get blown away about how good. No different than I look at you. And nothing lends for me to look at you and go, is he wearing hair or anything? It's like almost hard to believe until I see these guys literally take their hair off. And you know what? That's not always easy for them to see, like, them at this like young, youthful, amazing look. And then they come in for service and they just actually see the reality of it. No judgment and all the things that women do to make ourselves look better. And then you put their hair back on and then they just bounce back into them again. You know, at the end of the day, let's talk about the differences for people looking at hair systems. So what are they looking at? So a traditional old school hair system built for tough would have a very durable but breathable center. And probably around the perimeter have a 1-inch like tape line or a bond line. That would be very standard. You have always, as a clinic owner, you're entrenched in your hair experience yourself as well. And for me, I'm actually on the floor and I see this as the challenges of what it's like when people have tape and when they're tape on lace. So often the adhesive will like ooze through that and get through to the other side, and it makes cleanup so difficult.
It's bad.
However, if we're talking about those old school hair systems, then yes, lace is, we could both agree, the better of the front hairlines. But still in today's world, it's still considered the best form of hairline, which means the persona has not adapted with the times, right? It's still outdated. And this is why we do what we do right now, is so that we can break the myths and educate, right? When we're talking about thin skin hair systems, we're talking about hair that is injected. Hey, while you're at it, why don't you lean in and come forward to your camera and see if people can actually see? Yes, bring it. So this hair does not even have a knot into it.
There's no knots.
Hair that's injected straight into a super thin skin, and we're talking.
It's like a contact lens with hair injected into it.
It totally is.
You know,
totally.
If that would have been lace, you would have saw a little teeny knot.
Yes, that's true.
And you know,
and shine, like in between here.
Yeah.
The light that's above us can actually move and reflect the light of the tape, which you
Yeah.
don't get with this form of adhesion.
No, because there's no tape. With skin, there's no tape at all. And of course, lace is better than the older systems that were more of that membrane that went across around the perimeter. But that was technology was better, but it was a maintenance nightmare, at least for me,
Yeah.
you know, because it would the adhesive or the tape would ooze through there, get sticky and gross, and it
Totally.
just wasn't worth it. You know, the skin is it's literally like a layer of skin.
So myth bust number one, lace
Yes.
is no longer the best
No,
option.
no, no, no. It hasn't been for it hasn't been for a long time.
But those clinics that are still doing this old school technology are still the ones pitching it.
80% lace. They still do lace. They still do. I have no idea why, but again, that was always good for me.
Because if it's a more durable system,
Yeah.
you know that if the perimeter of that hair system is more durable and that comes around the front, lace at least will show a little bit of scalp through it.
Yes, yes.
But it has to have the knots bleached. It
Yep.
has to have a lot of work done to it. And
Yep.
but the lace starts to fray. It just breaks down pretty quick. It's not
bleaching the knots hurt the integrity of the knot. And if it's overly bleached, that hair will start falling out too soon. There's a lot of, when you have lace and you have to bleach knots, you're putting a lot of extra steps in that could damage things. And you're giving that system more excuses to fail.
Right.
As opposed to a skin system where you order it's the right color.
Right.
If you want highlights or you have gray percentages, it's all part of it's injected into it. So there's a lot less steps that are involved in that, which are a lot less things that can go wrong. And the easier the hair system is to get the process to get done and everything, the better it always is. And the better they look and everything about it.
So I would say I find now available 3 categories that I would put hair systems into. There's your grandfather's super durable. They'll last about a year and a half.
Yeah, the old, yeah.
Yeah. I mean.
Yeah, the James Bond style. Yeah.
They're everything that growing up as a kid.
Those are the ones that people see. Those are the ones that people see from 2 blocks away.
Yes.
And they're like, oh my God, I would never do this. Look at that thing. You know, that's grandpa's.
And I traditionally see that on older gentlemen because it's just what they're used to.
Yep.
Those are designed to be done with tape so that they can take it off at night, walk around their hair.
Along with their teeth.
Their hair not on, and then they just pop it on when they go out.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and they're still out there. Like, there's still a lot.
A couple. Yeah, we had a couple.
Selling that.
Yeah.
Then there's another type of a hair system that's kind of a hybrid.
Yeah.
It's the closest thing kind of in between what you have and these old school hair systems. So they're still built tough. They're typically on a good one that I would work with. I'd probably get 6 months, but it's hard to know your individual client, how they're going to care for it. Okay.
Yeah.
But I would probably say a hybrid should come off within about 6 months. And I'll tell you what. At the end of the day, all the hair that is put onto these systems, on all hair systems, they start to dry out. They start to fade in the sunshine.
Yep.
They just start to wear down. Now, I find the old school guys or the guys who aren't caring or the guys that you can tell on the street, it's because they're not educated enough or they're just not caring enough. Like, is everybody wearing a brand new pair of Nikes? No, not everybody's wearing a brand new pair of Nikes.
Yeah.
This is the same theory. We got to, like, on a mission to elevate these guys, okay? But here's what I find. The hair just starts to look dry. The key indicators of looking like a bad hair system. The hair starts to fade in the color.
Yeah, color doesn't match.
Dry.
That's always the biggest sell sign, is the color.
Yes. And also how thick the hair is.
Yeah.
Those that are built for tough are designed to last for longevity. So they the manufacturers have to put more hair into them to get them to last the lifespan of the base design.
Yeah.
However, it's still not worth it because the hair, you become a walking billboard.
Yeah.
That dry hair, that color fading, that type of a look to it, or the guys who have gray percentage into their hair that overwear it, the gray starts to break down and it singes and it looks like all weird Barbie doll hair. So then we move into systems that have a thinner type of a poly base. It could still have a 1 inch to maybe a 3-inch parameter into there, and will often have either probably a silk type of a material that's embedded into the polyurethane. These are the ones that I say I would probably use for about 6 months. Sure, some guys could probably make it like a year if they push it, but again, I don't honestly recommend that because we're still dealing with the hair fading and the hair getting dry. So it's not necessarily how good the product functions. It's also what the consumer, what the guy's doing with it as well. And so this is part of real talk and why we're doing what we're doing. Stop doing that, boys. You got to be paying attention to whether you're noticeable. And honestly, I see guys, I've seen some older guys that just are like, I swear they're just wearing hair to keep their head warm. They just don't care. So
if they're doing it to save money, it's at what expense though? Because if you want to save some money, and that's why you're stretching out this whole hair system for too long, and the hair starts to have a different color, and that's what we're doing this real talk, and we want to level up with people here. If they're wearing the system for way too long to save some money, but then they're walking around for half the year with a fake looking hair system on their head, you know, for me, it's like I just would rather not have a hair system. I would rather just wear a hat. The hair is not mental. It's human. If it's human hair, it's going to oxidize. It's going to lose its color after a couple months, and that's when people come in for their haircuts and services. We color their hair. It's part of their service, and that's what we would do, and it's fine. That's not going to last forever. Once that hair starts to oxidize, you're going to have to keep up with that. And as you know, you get past that 6 month with these types of systems you're talking about, you're going to have to make sure and color that all the time. Then you're basically just beating a dead horse. You know, I mean, I hate to say it that way, but you're getting to the point where you're really just trying to make something look new when it's not.
I think it's really important that we talk about, if you're going to step into this ring, life is really easy for your home care. I know that. You have a fantastic haircut. You have a fantastic product. You can literally shower, blow dry or not, throw some gel in your hair.
Put some gel and hairspray. It's done in 10 minutes. You know, I spend a fraction of the time with this hair than I used to when I was losing my hair. I mean, I wash my hair in the shower very similar to how I used to wash my own hair, condition it, and I put some gel and hairspray, and my hair is done in 10 minutes. When I'm out of the shower, I'll shave under there and go get dressed and kind of put some gel in my hair, and I'm out the door in 15, 20 minutes. I mean, it doesn't take any time at all.
So breaking the perception of what people are seeing on the streets is actually not what's available today. Literally, people can pass me on the street and I don't have the radar to always no different than when I come out of my office door and I walk into the clinic and I just go, I still can't believe he's wearing hair. Like, it's so good, right? So then we get into, we've now talked about that there's this old style system and then there's this kind of hybrid version of it that would probably be worth about 6 months wear. Now, options for clients like that. There is even this thin skin that you're wearing right now. We talked about that it has hair that's just straight injected into it. Why do we do disposable units? Disposable units mean that we could go as thin as we possibly can as far as what's the the thickness of the base. Okay, so when we talk about it's like a contact lens, it is. We're talking about that if we don't treat it right, it can actually tear. However, the way that we bond it is not something that you wear. Traditional systems is something that you wear with tape, or you can wear it with a perimeter bond, but it is nothing like this type of a bond that you've experienced. Now, this type of a bond is like coats that go everywhere, all over your whole scalp. And taking a super thin skin like this it actually melds right into your own scalp. And this is where we say, if you were to like scratch your head, you wouldn't feel,
no,
you would feel the nails, you would feel like your brush, you would feel all of these things.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't hear anything, and literally you don't feel anything on the edges at all.
Well, more importantly for me, especially when I switched from the perimeter bondings, because I was, you know, back when I first started, that's what everybody did, perimeter bondings. That's all there was.
Yeah.
So when the skin started becoming available and I started trying them, more importantly, me not feeling it was nobody else could feel it. If they're putting their fingers through my hair, they'd have no idea. That meant a lot to me. Before that, you know, it was, you know, I could get it to look very natural, but it didn't feel natural. I mean, I felt natural to me because I was used to it. But if somebody were putting their fingers through their hair, oh yeah, they're going to feel something. Then I'd have to do some explaining. But
well, you just would be okay. So that makes up a good point. When you're on that 4 per year or that or like the hybrid type of a system, you're not going to be comfortable with somebody touching your head. If you're dating, if you're single, if you're any of those types of things,
if you're a single person, probably not. If you're married, whatever, you know, I mean. But if you're going to feel those things, you know, and some people that really might matter to. Some people maybe not as much. I do think there are some of those hybrid systems you're talking about. Like you said, I mean, if they're cut the right way and the client's educated the right way to take care of the hair right, we don't want to discourage people like totally. That's crazy not to, because they can get those. I had clients that could get those to look really natural, and vast majority of most anybody never know that wasn't their hair.
Right.
And they were, for one reason or another, maybe they lived far away. Maybe the adhesive, when we did it that way, there's a different adhesive. It lasts a little bit longer for them as you attach that to the short hair, right? You know, the stubble. And so there are ways that people that live farther, it just worked better for some of those people. They needed more durability.
Exactly.
Construction workers, hard helmet guys, motorcycle wearing guys that just, you know, just guys that were rough guys. There's some guys that just rough. There's some guys that just rough on things. That's just the way they are.
To invest money on a hair system and to use like drugstore shampoo and conditioner and all that,
Not all the time.
They don't understand the importance of using high end. But it's not just, you can have the best of the best Kerastase product, but if it is protein based, you're doing damage. Like, you have to know what you're using. And that's why people need to be with clinics like ours. Buying online, bringing it to a barber who's there, who's expert to teach you what you need to know about what you're using, how you're using it, and what's the day that you're shampooing, what you use, and what's your maintenance on the off days. This is why people come to places like us, is we, you know, we train our technicians to know the best, and we source out the absolute best products that make that hair perform. But guys need to be styling their hair. They need to be doing these things, and they have to take more accountability into that if they're on the 4 per year. However, guys like you, it's a different game, right? And in a sense, like, it's hands-free. It's a lot easier.
Don't have to worry about those things. You know, I don't have to try.
The hair doesn't fade because it's gone before it even gets to that level.
I will replace this by the time it starts to take that turn to where then I start having to do extra things to keep it looking the way I want. That's when I replace it. So you know, when it comes to the color aspect, when it comes to the oxidizing, any of that, I don't notice a lot of that anyway, because I use the proper products and I condition it regularly every day. I mean, I condition my hair every single day. Every time I wash my hair, I condition it.
Absolutely, 100%.
So it's the way it's the way I've always done it. So, but the guys that are replacing it more frequently with these type of systems that I'm having, what you're talking about, that's completely eliminated, because it's just, even with my clients and with me, now that I get my hair done, I go in there and it's time, I just get new hair. I mean, it's just, I'm in and out in an hour and 10 minutes maybe. And any home stuff is really not, I don't do anything other than wash my hair.
This is an important time that if people are coming in, it doesn't mean this is what is the best type of a hair system for you. It's about what is best for the lifestyle, what's their like where do they live geographically, and what type of adhesions, and all these different types of things that we need to work with. The difference is being with a clinic that sources a really good product that has high standards from the manufacturers there. Oh my gosh, this is a podcast all on its own. Honestly, I could talk about this for a long time. I have literally went into China and into these countries and looked at what the factories are producing out there. I cannot believe the lack of quality. Like, join me in on this conversation, but well, actually, when we were with the supplier that we were with, they also stood for the elite. Okay.
Yeah.
But if I'm looking, I have a strong female business. And for them, this requires me to go into Asia because I do a lot of custom ordering for them. Okay. But in your world and my world for men, we don't have to do a lot of custom orders. No. And you know what? On a side note, people always think custom is the elite, but not necessarily.
Not anymore.
There's more quality control into what we are doing.
Absolutely.
But in that world, buying online from a gajillion places in China that are pushing their product out, I literally went to China for 3 weeks. I went through probably 70. I went to a trade show, and I also met with a lot of different places. I walked out of there with only one company that I would consider doing business with. If anything, I was appalled of these people saying, here's our work, and showing what they do, and me just going, oh my God. And so the types of things that I would be obviously looking for is, how natural is this here? And they would be double tying those knots that give like the big, huge circular dots at the front hairline. Like I would literally say to these people and just go, this is your best work. Like, you're here to show me, as I'm your potential customer, this is your best work that you're going to show me. And they'd be proud going, yeah. Next. It's only few and far between do you find really good manufacturers. What's the sweet spot? If somebody is looking at getting into the thin skins, like this level of technology, there's different programs available. 2 per year, 4 per year, 6 per year, 12 per year. Personally, I don't find any reason why somebody has to go over 12 per year. I think 12 per year is for the people that, you know, more elite. They want what they want because they can. However, in my office, I'll take the same technology that they're doing for 12 per year. Okay, just wait. I'm going to take a step back. There are guys that might want to be on the 6 per year, but they get too rough on their hair that they might not be making it last. Is that a faulty of a system? Hard no. These systems are designed for believability, but lifestyle of these individuals will 100% influence how often that they need to transition them in. You got a Ferrari product, right? And so what I would find is they're designed, and manufacturers would typically say, these are for 12 per year, right? That's what we hear. They're for 12 per year. However, I find that I can make most of my guys last 6 per year. So every 2 months they get a new one.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah. And I think even at 4 per year, so I should probably explain this. Within this range of thin skins, there's a few variables at different densities. Some of them can be straight injected hair. Some of them, like V-loop, we call it V-loop in our industry. Some of them can be a single tie. Now, what I was saying earlier in the podcast is that the super thin skin that you have right now is hair just straight injected in and out, right? You're wearing a V-loop?
Yeah, V-loop.
Okay. So that thin of a skin that's available, we offer also to give that same natural front hairline, but it actually has a half split knot into it. So it gives a little bit more durability, a little bit more density. I know that we can probably make that last 4 per year, maybe even 2 per year for a client. Okay. So if a guy comes in and he naturally around his perimeter has a really thick head of hair, I know I can work with that and it really blends to what he has. I can make my thin skin work with that as well too. But it depends on, is somebody wanting more like your type of a look? I can still definitely increase volume and texture with the type of a system that you have here. But I also, if I'm using this one that's a little bit thicker, it might be like, what is the ideal hairstyle a guy's trying to achieve, to why I would choose one over the other. But there's definitely a different lifespan between the two systems, but I can still achieve that type of a look. So I personally would use that on 4 per year, test it out, see how a guy's doing. Even on the system that you're on right now, I would start with at 6 per year and then see how long they're doing, whether we need to increase them to be maybe 8 per year, or if they're doing really, really well. Now, let's not push the envelope from a like, we don't want to see what happens is that they naturally start to shed. When you have a system that is V-looped, like a hair straight in, straight out, it's actually influenced by your bond on your head that you're actually adhering those hairs in as well too. By the way, never, ever, ever do we ever want to see this type of a system where someone tries to tape it, daily tape on it. It's not what it's designed for.
Not meant for it.
Don't make the Ferrari a rental car. It's not meant for that.
They have systems now, you know, that's the thing about the skin systems now compared to several years ago, is they have different thicknesses of skin systems, but the hairlines are all very natural. So they have, and I've had these systems myself too. I mean, I've worn these other systems, and I still to this day will sometimes wear this type of system too, because it'll have that little V-loop type of hair system in the hairline, and then right behind that hairline is when they have these little single split knots, they call them micro knots. You can't even see them. So if like somebody's looking really close, they can't tell that's a knot. So, and it's really such a very thin knot. It's mainly meant for durability. When I used to sell those in my place, those guys would get 3 or 4 months out of those at the most. We weren't going to let guys try and stretch these things out until they started dying again and doing all that, because that defeats the whole purpose of skin. So that's what's good about the trials that you do and the trials that I did, because you can see what it's going to be. And that's the whole idea of a trial. You have to see.
People are blown away. And the one question I always ask people when they have a makeover or a transition is, you came in here today and you had it in your mind what this was going to be like. Now that you've done it, where does it stand? Is it meet the expectation that you were hoping for? And every single time they will say, it's better than what they had actually expected it to be.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's scared to do it. When it's done and they're looking in the mirror and they're seeing what they were hoping for, they're always more than pleasantly surprised. They're ecstatic, you know. And we did the trials for many years, you know. It's very rare. It's very rare that we ever had anybody that backed out of it after that, you know. And you know, I countless future clients started because we were able to give them that trial, let them try it. We weren't going to hammer them for all this money up front. And a lot of these times at these places that you're talking about, when they would get the hair, they weren't necessarily happy with what the product that was delivered the day that they waited for. And if it was this custom type of system that they were supposedly getting and had to wait several months to get this system, and then they go in and it's not looking anything like they were told it was going to look like, or doesn't feel or look anything like they were expecting, they're not sure what to think. Most of the time they're disappointed. And then on top of that, if they get told now all of a sudden you're going to go $400 or $500 or $600 a month from now on, yeah, it takes what should be a very good experience, a life-changing experience in a positive way, and it makes it a very stressful experience. And it's no way to start your hair journey, that's for sure.
If you had the opportunity of telling anybody who is on the fence about what to do about their hair loss and considering to go into the world of hair systems or ultra grafts we would brand locally into our company, thin skins, whatever this is, or hair systems, more durable, any of it. If they're on that fence, what is the one thing that you would want them to know?
Yeah, what I would say is that hair loss is progressive and waiting isn't going to change anything. The vast majority of the times, the clients that come in and do that trial, I would have consultations. I would tell them all about the trial. They would want to think about it. We'd see them several months later. They would finally do it. And almost to a person, they would wish that they would have done it a year before when they came in that first time. And that's the good thing about a trial, is because if somebody's in there for a consultation, it's bothering them. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. So a lot of the time, that's the hardest part, is the consultation, is admitting to yourself and going in for that. So I have always said that's the number one thing, is to go in for a consultation. Because they might be at the very beginning stages. They might not even be a proper candidate for it. You never know. I mean, it doesn't work for 100% of the people. And I think if it's real talk about hair systems and hair replacement, I mean, that's part of it, is it's not 100% success. It's not for everybody, but nobody knows that unless they go in and find out. It's for most everybody, but not everybody. And we've had trials of people that were like, you know what, I'm ready to shave my head. I told my wife, I'm going to shave my head, but I'm going to try this. Worst case scenario, if I do this, it doesn't work for me, I'll just shave my head. I was going to shave my head anyway.
Right.
They do it. They don't shave their head. And I mean, every time I would see them for several months after that, to be like, thank God I came in and did this, and I have my hair and I never shaved my head. If I'd have shaved my head, I never would have known I'd ever done this. So that would be the thing, was just going for a consultation, or get online and put in a submission on your website or something, get some questions asked anywhere. I mean, obviously there's resources online now. You can see a lot of these makeovers done, so and you see some really good makeovers done online, and all that can be done. It's just, you have to go to the right place that does that, because a lot of places don't do what you're looking at online. So that's the biggest problem.
So I want to piggyback into a conversation that we started with at the beginning. Like, I think about, what would it be that I'd want to share? If I could just have a voice and to share out there, what are those messages? What are the things that I'd want people to know? And I think we've covered a lot of ground today in this. But, guys feeling like they're not alone in this journey. Now, when women lose their hair, I mean, everybody understands how traumatic it is for a woman, because it's part of our identity, it's our sensuality, it's our essence of beauty.
It's a whole different thing for women. Yeah.
But for men, it's very common for men to be bald. And you know what? Some guys look great bald.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
We're not trying to
one of them.
lure everybody who's losing their hair in here, but it's not for everybody. Yeah. And some people do not like losing their hair. Well, you know what, Ellen? It's probably time that we start wrapping it up. You and me could talk about this stuff for days and days, and probably actually never even really stop. There's so much area for us to cover, but that gives us other topics to do for future podcasts. But I want to thank you so much for your time today at answering awesome questions and helping make a difference, and coming out of retirement just for the purpose of making a difference for these people. And for you listeners, thank you for coming and listening for us today. If any of you have questions for Alan, you can sit one-on-one with him through Teams or through an online app, whatever works for you, or you can simply get on the phone with him. You can book online, or you can contact us and we will set you up with your time with him. And if I can help you, or if any of my team can help you with any of your questions, feel free. I am Yvonne DuBrule. I'm your host of Hair Loss Unfiltered, the podcast that's here just giving you the real truth about everything that you'd want to know about hair loss.